some numbers, which is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Nothing
first one
better
of the year.
than breaking in the newbies.
Yeah, breaking in the newbies. Yeah. Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully those guys get along and make it. So, all right. So we are live inside Better Body Academy and all across the socials. How are you guys? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Here we go. We've got another. I'm waking up to another message. Jace, I'm in. Everyone's joining the
No,
BBA train. How good? How good?
excellent.
Oh my God. Literally, you got some toothpicks that you can send up quickly, mate?
I do.
You guys, because of
Just go
the
and snap off a currawong's beak, mate. You'll be right.
because of the fact that that Vancouver's so far ahead of Australia, like by 4 or 5 hours at minimum, you guys always see me when I'm looking my prettiest.
Yeah, bright,
Because
bright and sprightly.
I've been awake for like 5 hours, 10 hours already. But this is me at my worst when you guys have been awake an hour longer than me, and I'm like, ugh. Anyway,
Love it.
I do digress. Good morning, everyone.
What's going on with the
How are we?
Jerry curl, mate?
What's that?
I
Sorry.
like the Jerry curl. I say I like the Jerry curl.
Oh,
Suits you.
desperately need a haircut, brother. Desperately need a haircut.
Oh, this Doggo's just throwing a bedhead at me, and I've actually styled my hair this morning, Doggo. Like, and I've cleaned my arms. Like, is there anything else I can do for you, Doggo, to make you happy?
He's getting chirpy because he's getting ready to leave the country, mate. He's throwing all out the chirps. Anyway,
that's right. Yeah.
Who we got in here? So, Mr. Kenny Beats, what is happening, my brother? Kenny, I just want to congratulate you. You were the most consistent dude I know, mate. Always showing up. Well done to you and Hayes. Hello, Nat. Good morning. Speaking of consistency, I'll tell you what, someone's showing up for themselves this year. I like it. Well done. All right, a couple of Facebook users. Now, I did put the link there for Restream for all of you that haven't displayed. Now, anyway, we're going to get started in 1 minute as we just go through and welcome everyone to the podcast. Hello, Pam. How are you, mate? Lovely to have your company in here today, Pam. Nikki Duggan, good morning, my brother. Lovely to catch up with you as well. Morning, gents.
Not good morning from me.
No, not good morning from you. Tara, how are you, darling? Good to see you in here. And Tara's ripping the scab off in her workouts. Good work, Tara. We've got M. Kelly's in here, the Queen. How are you, M? You're in some serious momentum at the moment. Good morning, squad god Ash Sonta. How are you, mate? Warren Todd. Now, listen, two things about Warren Todd. I spent a bit of time with Toddy when I was back. What a tremendous human. Number one, he is going to do his first gym session with Steve Byron.
Oh, nice.
After like 8 months in the academy or something like that. Second thing is, Toddy, we want you on the podcast, mate.
Let us know on the potty.
On the potty. This guy's he's got the golden lungs. Guys, we're going to get started in 30 seconds. Good morning, Michelle Darlin. How are you, mate? Lovely to see you again. Jules, lovely to have you in here. Look at this. Stacey's in here as well. Got a couple of people who aren't authorized yet. So if you want to go back after this episode, I put a link up there so that you can show your name and it's a little bit cooler in here. All right, guys. So I think we are ready to rock and roll into another episode of the podcast. Let's get started on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We are back in the second episode for 2023. Myself here and Coach Mike. Good morning, Mike. How are you, brother?
Good morning, Chase. I think the people should be stoked that there's this much handsome for this time of a morning for everyone in the world.
Mate, I'll tell you what, we'll talk ourselves up, but ridiculously, it's unbelievable. Anyway, we do digress.
I've got it.
Guys, welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a beautiful start to the year. Now, in this episode, we thought that we'd have more of an open chat to perhaps get you thinking about your goals for this year. I think that without having some structure in the way that you set goals, and we're not going to go and do a smart goals podcast. That's not what this is about. We do want you to think a little bit more expansively around what health means to you. Why do you think that's important, Mick? Why is it important to look beyond fat loss?
I think you can't measure by one metric. Life's not about weight. It's about so much more It's that saying, it's not just the weight on your body that you have to lose, it's always in the mind as well. So having a healthy body is great and being in shape, but if you're mentally and all these other concepts that we're going to cover, if you're not covered on all those bases, I don't think you can live a fulfilled, sustainable life.
Very good point. Yeah. And so what we are always thinking about is if someone hitches all of their happiness on the achievement of physical health, well, that's great. But then what happens when the other areas get left behind? So what I tend to think of things as like almost like a thermometer or a gauge where you have 5 or 6 different aspects of health that perhaps we should consider, and each one of those is a thermostat, and we're looking and we're thinking to ourselves, where are we versus where we want to be in each of those areas. So
Yeah. A
let's
good
just
analogy of that is like the equalizer on a volume control. Like, all those little things that go up and down, and you try and get that balance when you tune it up.
100%. And what we
Yeah.
see is that when someone, I think that what happens a lot for people is that they go so hard at the physical health
Yeah.
that other areas like their mental health and their emotional health and their relationship health start to suffer. And so this is why we have to have, I think, a measured approach to what we're doing. And so let's not be one of these kind of like New Year resolutionists where we're going to lose 50 kilograms this year and that's going to lead to complete happiness, because we know people who are very physically healthy but are terribly unhealthy in
Yeah.
other areas. We also know people who are very financially healthy but terribly unhealthy in other areas. So let us know in the comments if this kind of resonates. You may have made good gains throughout 2022 in your physical health, but we'd like to make sure that as, complete humans that are chasing a better existence, a better life experience, that you're feeling good in all areas. Before
Definitely.
we go into the podcast, Mike, I might just kind of step back a little bit and ask you, in your definition, now don't get all technical with us, all right? I just want to hear it from Mike. I don't want you to go fucking deep on this, right? So I just want to know, like, generally speaking, what's health for you?
Um, I think health is happiness in everything that I do in life, like whether it's um, coaching, whether it's family relationships, whatever it is. I've got to feel content and happy that in what the decision I'm about to make is going to be the right by my values in life. So it doesn't. I mean, I'd like to look good and I like to feel good, but I also like to be the best version of myself I can be. And I think health for me is covering all those avenues and being content and looking in the mirror and just going, you know what, like, I'm proud of you. You've done a great job.
Here's an on the
So,
spot question, which is probably maybe hard to answer, but how does one know if they're healthy? How can one say or come to a conclusion that I'm a healthy person?
I guess it depends on your definition of health in that aspect. As we said before, like, are you a financial person? Are you looking at being rich? Is that your definition of health? Then yeah, okay, you are healthy in that area. Are you overweight and need to lose weight and be a better version for yourself and your family? And is that your definition of health? Yeah, maybe. It's a hard one to sort of cover in that sort of aspect because health, like, it's such a broad term. It covers so much of every part of your life. It's not just. I mean, everyone focuses on physical weight because it's what we are told from a young age is to be healthy, you have to be fit, you have to play
Mm.
sport, you have to eat certain things. But when you go deeper on the actual avenues that health sort of introduces into your lifestyle and who you want to become, and man, the topic is just
Okay.
blows up.
So what I'm taking out of this is that you're saying that health is diverse and very individual.
Yeah,
So two factors
definitely.
I think that we've pulled out of Mike's answer. Health is diverse and very individual. So in other words, it encompasses not just physical health, it encompasses many things. But then the second part of this is it's very much you. Like, what do you feel? Right? What is important to you? And this is relevant because if you are chasing a definition that has been crafted by someone on social media, or you're comparing against someone in your peer group, well, that's not very it's not going to bring any kind of gratitude or abundance to you if you've set up your frameworks around other people. Does this make sense? So,
Yeah.
guys, with that, I think we've got a good platform here to have a discussion about the 6 key areas that Mike and I have identified as health. And so I want you to think of it like this. I want you to think of, we've got the overarching banner of healthiness, and then under there, we've got a number of different areas. And we've broken them down to 6 different areas. And so in each one, we're going to talk about what it is and potentially what goals could you set, or at least try to spark some ideas on what goals you could set to be able to make this
Mm.
true for you in 2023. So let's go to the first area, Mike.
Yeah, it's a favorite topic of mine, obviously, but also over the last 5 to 6 years, it's a topic that thankfully we're allowed to talk about, and that's mental health.
Mm,
Um, it's no longer hidden in the darkness of the old basement where mental health used to be. If you've got a problem, you have to deal with it yourself. Mental health is probably one of the, if not the most important pillar for me in becoming a healthy version of myself. We'll use this term health.
mm.
Um, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, any transformation anywhere in the world is 80% up here and 20% is the byproduct of that. Like that's your body, changing its form or getting fitter and healthier.
Well,
And I,
let's just interrupt there. That that is factually true, because I
yeah,
think that the struggle of like trying to execute on what you want to do physically, that's not it's not that generally for most people they can't do it physically. It's a battle between the two ears, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a very
yeah.
good
It's
point.
fighting. Yeah, it's fighting against your outcomes, right? So you can lose weight and you can get fit and healthier by following a program and doing what we ask you to do. But if you don't want to do it, you won't do it.
Mm.
Simple as that. If it's
Okay.
not part of your goals, you won't do it.
So for someone to be in good, solid, primo health, mental health rather, uh, whilst we're not mental health counselors, we see a lot on the back end. What do you
Correct.
think? How can you set a goal around mental health? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I have definitely. And for me, this year, my prime goal is to improve my work life. I don't like the word balance. I'll call it relationship. And be more present in both, right? So I want to be, and I'm going to be this awesome coach that's going to take over the world with you, but I've also got to have a balance in my life with my family, and the other things that pick me up when I'm down. So
Mm,
for me, to improve that relationship, I have to be more present in both aspects. So I need to set aside time for myself to work and
mm,
time for myself for my family. So
mm.
a good analogy of my psychologist taught me years ago is when I used to work in construction is to improve my work-life relationship, because I think that's a better terminology now, is when you drive home from work and you get in the garage and you park your car, you go to your shelf and you put your work box on the shelf and you grab your home box and you take that down
Wow,
and you open that up and you play with that.
wow.
And that really sort of made sense to me. And I think that was the catalyst for me changing my relationship with my work life balance or relationship is that um, when you're paid to do a job or when you're doing a job, you do that job to the best of your ability without any sort of outside factors. But when you come home and you're replaceable, and that's the big word, when you're replaceable, when it's not riding on you,
Mm,
there is no point in dwelling and focusing too much on that stuff. It's like these people at home are the ones that set you and settle you and ground you and love you and take care of you. They need your attention. So
mm.
for me to improve, my relationship between what I do to earn money and what I do to have love is a massive factor in my mental health.
Yeah,
So this year, that's what I've been focusing on.
bang on. And otherwise, I think what happens is you strangle with that, like that all the time. Like, why can't I get this right? Like, why do I not feel in balance? I really think
Mm,
that any person that's ambitious is never going to get to this like karmatic piece of like, oh, zen,
Yeah,
like
sitting there on the balcony.
exactly. Something that I want to bring up before we move off mental health is that I want to acknowledge my own, I'm going to say struggle for vulnerability this year since having our little boy. Was I ever on the point of completely losing it? Probably not. But to all of you that are parents and are wrestling with the situation of growing kids, it's a fucking challenge. So I
Yeah,
just I don't think that there's any point in hiding it. And what I just would say before we move off this topic is battling mental health challenges is the vast majority of people. I speak to hundreds of people each year sending in applications for Better Body Academy, and nearly every person has some background level of, mental struggles that they're dealing with, and that is
yeah,
life. But when you try
yeah,
to deal with that on your own, that's when it becomes problematic. That's when
yeah.
you start to create, and fester in bigger issues. So you need to let people in. You need to talk about your stuff. So, guys, with that,
Definitely.
good opening. So let's go to
Yeah, but
this.
can I just say, one thing I want to point out with you, Jason, I actually commend you on it. This year, especially over the holiday break, we'll call it, you were a lot more present with your family than normal. Like normally you'd be whack, 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 gotta work, gotta. Yes, that was running through your head, but the way you flipped the script and just became a dad and a partner, and like it was really admirable to see, dude. And I pay close attention to it because I was talking to my wife about it the other day. I was like, I'm so glad that even the whole team had that chance to recalibrate ourselves over the Christmas period. So
Well, you know what this probably come from? During the mastermind, Jeff Cockley, specifically Jeff, said to me, he said, because I stressed this idea around mental health becoming a current challenge, and he said, Jace,
mhm.
as a coach, you're not meant to be available all the time, 24 hours a day. And we know that. So all of a sudden, I'd constructed an expectation in my mind about how I'm meant to be based on what I think, when our clients were saying, no, that's not how you're meant to be.
Yeah,
So
but,
sometimes
but that's the hard part.
the trainee becomes the teacher. So I want to thank
The
you for
hard
that.
part about balance of purpose versus serving people and
Yeah,
actually loving what you do, you
yeah,
get lost in that, and that's why it goes back to my thing is improving my relationship with that because I just want to be present all the time, but I
I love
can't.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's go to aspect number two, and for me, this is spiritual health. And I must say, it's a weird thing for me to be discussing this. Not so much now because I'm well into my spiritual health journey, but for me, spiritual health is. I used to confuse spirit with religion, and I am, if anything, the anti-religion person. I'm not. I'm not criticizing people. In fact, my partner's family is quite religious. I'm in no way criticizing religion. But for me, I want to believe in something tangible, and that is myself, my mental health, and my own spirit. A couple of years ago, I went away and did a 10-day meditation retreat, which was completely silent and, for fuck's sake, vegetarian food. Um, and like this
Two
really.
things we could never thought that you would ever do is not talk for 10 days and not eat meat.
And dude, like what this kindled in me is a real spiritual journey. So for me, you
Mm,
got to, it's hard to define what spirit actually is, but I think for me, it's about coming to some level of peace with yourself. Okay, we operate on such, as ambitious people, such high frequency all the time, but unless you give yourself a chance to recalibrate, then you're going to be pouring from an empty cup. And I know that
mm,
from doing our most recent mastermind, there are a lot of men and women out there that are spiritually just deplete, absolutely deplete. And this is one of the core reasons why we struggle. So when it comes to spiritual health, this is the analogy that I think about, that every day we want to get in the habit of pulling our bed sheets back up nice and tight and pulling out the creases. Those creases are in our mind, our energy, and if we just spend a little bit of time pulling out the creases of our bed of our bed sheets, then it really, really helps to set us up for a good solid day the next day. So what goals could you set around spiritual health? Let's get practical. Well, you could set a goal to commence meditation. If meditation you've tried 17,000 times and you just can't do it because it feels crap and you don't like it, then don't fight against it. Set
That's it.
something around breath work as an example. All right? It
Yeah,
could
it's
be
amazing.
just
Breathwork is amazing, though. And the more you explore that and in how it actually centers your body and not just your breathing, but your heart rate and your mindset, it's a fucking wonderful thing, dude.
100%. Perhaps the last goal that I think is worth talking about is around gratitude. Again, as a new parent, I have had to find myself actively trying to be more grateful in the moments that are a struggle. So, as an example, when I'm sitting there like I was last night at 2 o'clock in the morning and fucking hating every minute of Atlas waking up, an awareness comes up in me that says, but you have a healthy baby boy
Yeah.
and you get to sleep with this little kiddo and he's providing all these smiles. And it's just this, okay, I need to recalibrate and I need to have a moment where I'm not being distracted by everything else. This gives me the space to be able to say, hey, this is good. This is nice. This is what I'm here for. I'm a human. Let's go to number 3, relationship health.
Yeah. Again, this is a big one, and I think people always think relationship being you, your partner, you, your kids, your friends. But for me, this year, and I'm talking about this year because I'm actually going to sort of use my goals for this year as part of the process is relationship with me. This year, I'm going to focus on getting to know myself a lot more. That's exploring my past, my traumas a lot more deeper to see where, what built this machine that's currently in front of you. Um, I'm trying to take more time to appreciate the person that I am and get in touch more with my emotions and expressing myself a lot more clearly and more effectively. And I love vulnerability. Everybody knows that. I think that's my superpower. It always has been. But um, I think focusing on who I am, why I'm who I am, what value I give, and listening to what our clients say about there's nothing better than getting recognized for what you do
Mm.
from a message from somebody. One day of the week you get a beautiful message from one of the clients, and it opens up your eyes and your brain. So I'm getting emotional about it because it's hit me so hard this year about how important my purpose is, and that's part of my spiritual growth too. So for
Well,
me, like,
I think that's a thing. There is plenty of crossover between these two different aspects. They're
yeah,
not completely standalone.
no, definitely not. It's the blueprint for a healthy lifestyle. It's all this stuff together, but
Mm.
having that relationship, better relationship with me is internalized, um, like the person that I am and who I'm becoming. But also, I look at my wife and my kids, and how proud I am of them and how much of an impact I've had on their life. And as a dad, I only know as a dad because I'm not a mum. As a dad, you sacrifice so much because you've got this role. You have to be this certain type of person, and when you break that mold and you look back and you go, okay, I'd sacrificed 17 years of my life doing something that I loved to do, but it wasn't my purpose. But
Mm.
it brought me a purpose. It
Mm.
brought me to where I am today, and it enhanced the way that I handle myself and how I portray myself. But also, like this family that I've had the impact on is just amazing. And then my family of BBA and the people that I make an impact on every day. That's why I just want to change one person's life every day, dude. Because for me, it's like that relationship with me is I'm a provider. Um, I'm I'm a vulnerable empath that can see and feel and knows what people need. But I'm also that guy that is just authentic and is himself and backs himself now. Before I wasn't, and now I have that ability to do that. So getting to know myself more. So I've gone around a long you know
That's
what
all
I'm
right.
like.
Let's go with what Nick said here. Agree with Mike. Unless you are right with yourself, your other relationships will suffer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is
Yeah.
great. And one thing that I kind of challenge anyone in a relationship to do, and I guess when I speak this, I'm probably thinking about doing this myself, is sometimes we do get busy in the pursuit of ambition in other areas or of being a parent, and we forget the beautiful person that stands
Yeah.
next to us every day and fucking supports the shit out of us, and we take them for granted. And I think we take them for granted with this idea that they'll always be there. So how can you set some goals? Let's just get practical about this. Like, how can you set relationship goals? A lot of us are, I don't know about
Big.
you guys, but almost like feel like we're too busy to set like crazy goals with all of our friends. I want to focus on the people that are meaning the most to you, probably your
Yeah.
kids and
Yeah.
your partner. So how can you do it? Could you set legitimately a date night? Is that
Yeah.
realistic? Can you possibly get a babysitter every 2 weeks and set a date night? I mean, that for me is as simple as it can possibly get,
Yeah.
and as beneficial. And it's almost like that spiritual reconnection between the two of you. So I think this is a really, really good idea. Okay, let's
Yeah.
move through number 4 pretty briefly, which is physical health. And obviously, the majority of us have set goals for
Yeah.
2023. Those goals are going to be based around predominantly weight loss for most people. I don't want to go into detail on that because I think that's not the point of this podcast. But what we should
That's
think about
fine.
is, why are you setting the goal there? I want to focus on, why is that important? Okay. If you specifically focus on fat loss for fat loss's sake, you will lose weight and you will put it back on again. That's what will happen unless you connect it to something more important in your life. Like, for example, putting down 23 kilograms so that you can be a better dad who's more energetic to keep up with the kids. And this is what's going to keep you on track. It might
Yeah.
be that you're at risk of pre-diabetes, and your goal is to lose 20 kilograms so that you can get better control over your blood sugar, so that you live a longer life, so that you can spend more time with your kids. If you're just focusing on one-dimensional physical health, this is where it's going to be a short-term pursuit.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to move on to number 5 before we bring this thing home: financial health, Mike.
Yeah, and with the way the current world is at the moment, with prices going up on everything, and me finding now that I've got 3 kids that are freaking eat like horses, like, it's unbelievable. Like my middle son's just taken over my eldest son in height. He's like 6 foot now, and we have to buy him size 11 shoes, and my youngest will be probably taller than them. They eat so much as well. I think it comes down to, for me this year, it's all about savings and budgeting, and sticking to a plan, and um, making sure that the day-to-day stuff's covered. But I've also got enough aside to still invest in my physical health, my mental health, as they're a priority, because that controls me being able to be in the best position I can be to make those decisions on finance and budgeting. So,
Mm.
yeah, just being more smart with the way I spend things. Also, making sure that I put that money aside for holidays, and the things that, cover the rest of those components that we talked about before, your mental health, your relationships as well. So it's super important that you manage the day-to-days, but you've also got your little goals, your investments, but making health a priority. Like, always make some time for money aside for health.
And I want to say one thing on this. Someone I'm really, really proud of in 2022 was